Yes, you have to have a good amount of Spanish.
僕自分现在，包括我自己的，我自己现在哪里现在你就可以go to services.
Oh yeah, I heard of that. They mentioned he mentioned a temple, Buddhist temple, somewhere in China. Yeah.
Good morning and welcome to today's service. We'll begin with silent meditation.
Kansho. Entrust yourself to Amida's primal vow. Through the benefit of being grasped, never to be abandoned, all who entrust themselves to the primal vow attain the supreme enlightenment. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, 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 Namanda.
Please join us in chanting the Sutra chanting Juseige on page 35.
Gagoncho Segan Hishimu Jodo Shi sai dohoden bodai shin ojo an brako. Yasho namandab 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 namandab.
Please join me for the recitation, Gratitude for Jodo Shinshu Teaching, which is an insert in the service book. You can remain seated. Gratitude for the Jodo Shinshu Teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Entrust yourself to me. I will liberate you just as you are. This is the calling voice of Amida. My blind passions are embraced in the Buddha's awakening, so the Buddha calls to me, I will liberate you just as you are. Gratefully responding to the Buddha's call, I find that I am already on the path that leads to the Pure Land, and the Nembutsu flows freely from my thankful heart. Living with the Dharma as my guide softens my rigid heart and mind. Gratitude for the gift of life I have received frees me from becoming lost in greed and anger, and allows me to share a warm smile and speak gentle words. Sharing in the joy and sadness of others, I shall strive to live each day to its fullest. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. We will now have Dharma message by Reverend Hokai Smitty Smith.
Don't worry, the mask is to protect you. I've got a cold, so I didn't want to come and spread the germs here today. Hopefully you won't go home with my cold and have to put up with it for the next week or so. But please join me in Gassho. We know that the pure aspiration that one awakens is not the mind of self-power of foolish beings. It is the mind directed to beings out of great compassion. This mind is genuine, single, and enduring. This mind is the mind of great enlightenment. The mind of great enlightenment is true and real Shinjin. True and real Shinjin is the aspiration for Buddhahood, and the aspiration for Buddhahood is the aspiration to save all beings. The aspiration to save all beings is the mind that grasps sentient beings and brings them to birth in the pure land of happiness. This mind is the mind of ultimate equality. It is great compassion. This mind attains Buddhahood. This mind is Buddha. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandab, namandab, namandab. Well, good morning, everybody. That rather lengthy quotation, which I just read, comes from Shinran Shonin's Passages on the Pure Land Way, in which he explains the mind of Buddha, the mind that is single. And I hope it makes more sense as I ramble my way through this talk today. I was writing it while I was taking the cold medications yesterday to suppress the symptoms I have, so who knows what I ended up putting here. Okay, who here has a cell phone in their pocket, purse, backpack, or somewhere nearby? Okay, just about everybody. I think one of the little ones in the front row didn't raise their hand, so. Okay. Who here is currently texting, posting, or playing some game instead of paying attention to what's going on in service? Oh, only one or two of you, that's good. Who here has ever gone to a concert and watched the whole thing through your phone, taking and posting pics and videos instead of immersing yourself in the concert experience? Okay, few. You're most likely at least a millennial or Gen Z. I'm not judging, I'm just making an observation here. Has anybody ever forgotten their phone or lost it at some point and felt totally out of sorts without it? Yeah, most of us have been there, done that at one time or another. And we've grown so attached to our phones that existing without them, even for a short time, seems agonizingly impossible. So a week or two ago, I went to Costco to stock up on our favorite Kirkland items. And I had a few things that I had to pick up that were listed on this little scrap of paper, but my main shopping list was on a note in my phone. So after finding a parking spot and grabbing one of Costco's oversized shopping carts and flashing my Costco membership card to the greeter/bouncer at the door, I was ready to start methodically traversing the sections of the warehouse, ticking items off my list as I went. Except when I reached into my pocket for my phone, it wasn't there. Mild sense of panic. Then I realized that I had forgotten it on the charger next to my big comfy chair in the living room. Oh well, I can just text Jackie and ask her what I was supposed to pick up. Oh, never mind. That wasn't going to happen either. So I silently swore at myself, quickly grabbed the few items that were written on that little scrap of paper, and proceeded to wander aimlessly up and down the aisles of Costco, tossing things into my oversized cart that never in a million years would have been on my shopping list. Several $100s later, I drove home to my 100% charged phone and checked the list in my notes. Sadly, I missed about 50% of the things I was supposed to purchase. How did I ever manage to shop before the advent of the smartphone? And how did I become so stupid when I don't have my phone on me? I'm completely putting my trust in an illusion instead of into something true and real. In April, Jackie and I went on vacation to Italy. We visited several cities and regions, starting with Rome. One morning, we grabbed a taxi outside of our hotel and headed to our scheduled tour of the Vatican, Vatican Museum, Sistine Chapel, and St. Peter's Basilica. We were dropped off in front of a cafe, which was next to the designated meeting point. And since we were a few minutes early, we immediately entered the cafe and purchased a couple of coffees. And as she started to sip her latte, Jackie realized her phone wasn't in her pocket. I had a bit more than a mild sense of panic at that time. And we checked to see if it had fallen out on the sidewalk or at the curb, but it wasn't anywhere to be found. And we tried calling with my phone, but since she keeps her phone on vibrate only, if it was in the taxi, the driver would never hear it. And since we just grabbed a taxi that was sitting outside of our hotel, we didn't pay any attention to the cab company, let alone the cab number. We were, however, staying at a boutique hotel and called the hotel manager to explain Jackie's sad situation. No, we didn't get the taxi through the front desk. They would have had a record of the company and the driver in that case. No, we didn't know which taxi company it was or the taxi number. No, we couldn't even describe the taxi colors or the driver. So with limited information, the hotel manager had a really daunting task ahead of him. All I could think of was that Jackie had just lost her phone in a foreign country with a credit card and her driver's license in the pocket on the phone case, and we had 2 more weeks before heading back to the US. Meanwhile, Jackie remained relatively calm, placing her faith in the hotel manager's detective skills. Thinking that Jackie was, the things that Jackie was concerned about, though, we were about to have another day of a lot of walking and her phone wasn't there to count her steps. Oh, and we were going on a tour of the Vatican, and without her phone, she couldn't take photos or video to share with her family on WhatsApp. And she couldn't even WhatsApp her family to tell them that she lost her phone. So she made me do that with my phone. She also made me download the Tile app on my phone so that I could try to locate her phone. It took a while to start working, but the app eventually showed the phone on the road to Leonardo da Vinci Airport. I was hoping that Jackie's phone wasn't about to fly off somewhere else. After a long day of touring the Vatican and many thousands of steps, none of which were counted by Jackie's phone, we took a taxi back to our hotel. The hotel manager was waiting for us with Jackie's phone. It had taken a tour of Rome with the taxi driver who had transported us in the morning. Jackie promised not to keep her phone in her pocket, which it fell out of, for the rest of the trip, and promptly began to WhatsApp her family and catch up on everything she missed during the day while her phone was without her. While she was doing that, I had been taking refuge in the impermanent technology of my cell phone. I mention these stories because I've recently learned that most of us have a serious illness. It's known as technology addiction. A recent Pew Research Center poll indicates that 90% of adults and 96% of teenagers in the US are online every day, mostly on our phones. Unsurprisingly, 46% of teens say they're online almost constantly, thanks to the mini computer that we all carry around with us. Signs or symptoms of technology addiction include frequent and obsessive use of our smartphones, experiencing withdrawal without our phones, replacing enjoyment of the real world with our phone and its interactions, and a constant need for more online shopping, more time playing our favorite games, more virtual friends, more posts, more likes, more videos of kittens, more. Like my forgetting my phone on my Costco trip and Jackie's temporary loss of her phone on our Italy trip, we feel lost without our technology. Maybe we've become too dependent on our phones. To further illustrate our addiction or attachment to material, impermanent, and non-enduring things like technology and our smartphones, I'd like to share a story from the miscellaneous Agama Sutra. This sutra is actually a collection of about 1,300 short sutras of succinct content that addresses suffering, emptiness, impermanence, interdependence, and other important Buddhist doctrine. In one of the Agama Sutras, which are said to contain the Buddha's early sermons, there's this interesting story. A long time ago, there was a wealthy king who had 4 wives. So according to the social system and circumstances of the time, it was possible and acceptable for royalty to have several wives at the same time. And the king loved and treasured his first wife, which is why she was number 1. The king loved and treasured his second wife, but not quite as much as the number 1 wife. The king loved his third wife, but she certainly ranked third behind wives 1 and 2. But the king's fourth wife was not really loved at all. He was always treating her badly, and he usually ignored her. As he got older, the king became very ill, and he knew he was about to die. So at the end of his life, he felt very lonely and called for his first wife to come to his bedside. "My dear wife," he said, "I love you day and night. I took care of you throughout my whole life. Now I'm about to die. Will you please accompany me in death?" He expected her to answer yes, but she replied, "Oh, my dear husband, I know you always loved me, and you're now about to die. But now it's time for me to separate from you. Goodbye, my king." Well, that wasn't the response that he was expecting. So the king called in his second wife to his sickbed and begged her to follow him in death. He said, "My dear second wife, you know how I loved you. Sometimes I was afraid you might leave me, but I held on to you with all my strength. My dear, please accompany me in death." And the second wife, knowing that she wasn't his first love, expressed herself rather coldly. "Dear husband, your first wife refused to accompany you in death. How can I agree to follow you? You loved me only for your own selfish sake. Again, the king didn't really expect to be rebuffed. Still lying in his deathbed, the king called his third wife and asked her to follow him in death. Wife number 3 replied with tears in her eyes, "My dear king, I pity you and I feel very sad for myself. Therefore, I shall accompany you to the graveyard, but no further. This is my last duty to you." So the third wife also refused to follow him into death. Rejected by his first 3 wives, the king was now in deep despair. And as he wallowed in his own sorrow, the king recalled that there was another wife, his 4th wife, for whom he didn't care very much. He had treated her with contempt and had always showed quite a bit of displeasure with her. He now thought that if he asked her to accompany him in death, she certainly would say no, like the others. But the king's loneliness and fear was so severe that he made the effort to ask her to accompany him in death. To his surprise, the 4th wife gladly accepted her husband's request. She said, "My dear husband, I will go with you. Whatever happens, I will never abandon you. I cannot be separated from you. I will gladly follow you anywhere." The king then realized that he would be abandoned by the 3 wives whom he had loved and treated well, and only his 4th wife, who he had ignored and treated poorly, would be by his side always. Only on his deathbed did the king understand that the one wife he should have cherished and honored his whole life was the 4th one, whom he had nearly forgotten about. He was ashamed for his behavior toward all of his wives. The Buddha concluded the story by saying that every person has these same 4 spouses. So, what do the king's 4 wives signify? The first wife symbolizes our body, which we love and treasure the most of all. We bathe our bodies, we adorn our bodies with clothes and shoes, and perfume our bodies with cologne and deodorant. We feed our body when it's hungry, and we rest our body when it's tired. But no matter how well we take care of it, our body doesn't follow us after death. As Renyo Shonin reminds us in his letter on white ashes, the body vanishes from this world with the smoke of cremation, leaving behind only the white ashes. Words fail to describe the sadness of it all. The second wife is symbolic of our wealth, material possessions, job, social status, and honors and titles that we worked hard to attain. We're attached to these worldly possessions. We're afraid to lose these material things and often greedily wish to possess even more. At the end of our life, these things can't follow us into death. Whatever fortune or fame we piled up, we have to leave it behind. As the saying goes, you can't take it with you. By the way, there's a 1938 movie by that name featuring Jean Arthur, Jimmy Stewart, and Lionel Barrymore, just in case you wanted to know that you really can't take it with you. The third wife symbolizes our spouse or significant other, close family and relatives, friends, and even society in general. Of course, our family and loved ones are very important and dear to us. But when we pass away, the reality is that they will only follow us as far as the gravesite. The fourth wife is usually said to symbolize our karma. But to Jodo Shinshu Buddhists, the fourth wife, who was treated so badly and nearly forgotten, symbolizes the sincere mind of Amida Buddha. The fourth wife is the primal vow of Amida, the Nembutsu teaching, which is intended for each and every one of us. While all else in this world is temporary and impermanent, wisdom and compassion are without limit and without end. Each of us is embraced by Amida Buddha, who supports us and who will never abandon us, even as we depart this life for the other shore. Circling back to our cell phones and technology addiction, those are impermanent things that we cling to and seem to feel as though we can't live without. We spend so much time on our phones, giving them our undivided attention. We dote on them like the king did with his first 3 wives. We depend on our phones, their apps and technology, yet none of that is genuine, true, or enduring. Just like the king in the miscellaneous Agama Sutra, we focus our attention on what seems to be important while we neglect what is truly important. As we breathe our last breaths, will we realize that we put our trust in our cell phones instead of Amida Buddha's primal vow? In living a life of gratitude in the Nembutsu, we encounter and are supported by that which is genuine, true, and enduring. Wisdom and compassion embraces us always, never abandoning us, unlike our phones, which become lost, damaged, obsolete almost every year. Hopefully, we'll come to realize this truth before we find ourselves like the king, fearful and lonely as we're about to depart this life. Please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namandab, 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 Namandab. See, I almost forgot my phone up here.
Thank you, Reverend Smitty. Will you all please rise for the Gatha Ondokusan on page 128? Please be seated. Are there any announcements at this time? I do have one on behalf of Arturo and the Dana Group. The Buddhist Temple of San Diego and its Dana Group is once again partnering with Hope for San Diego to provide school supplies to underserved children in our community. Through June 30th, we're gathering school supplies such as pencils, erasers, pencil sharpeners, and more. For a complete list of school supplies needed, please check the collection box downstairs in the dining room. Thank you.
Good morning. I guess there's not a lot of announcements today, so you're stuck with me. And I'm the only one wearing the T-shirt today. Anyway, I just came to model the T-shirt, which is for the Lahaina wildfire. And anyway, if you want to order the T-shirt, we have to have the orders in by the end of June. So if you're interested, you can we can have a sign-up list in the office, or you could just see me or Junko. So hope you support the Lahaina. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna fill in for my father because I know he's downstairs in the office. But tomorrow is our Community Memorial Day services. 9:30 will be at Mount Hope, and then 11:30 will be our Temple is One at Cypress View Mausoleum.
And I'll just announce that we are having our Temple Bazaar next Sunday, so June 2nd. I know they do have sign-up sheets online or in the office if you'd like to sign up to help. All right. So we will now have closing meditation. The 4 reliances. First, rely on the spirit and meaning of the teachings, not on the words. Second, rely on the teachings, not on the personality of the teacher. Third, rely on real wisdom, not on superficial interpretation. And fourth, rely on the essence of your pure wisdom mind, not on judgmental perception. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you very much for attending today's shortened service, and I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and please feel free to offer incense. Thank you.